Hi everyone, it's the Kiki Jar, and today I have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Greg, but in this dress, I'm Ivana Cakes. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Um, I would love for you to tell the viewers a little bit about what you do, what you're into, the things that you're actively doing on social media right now.
Yeah, so right now, politically, I am a volunteer coordinator for the Christina Olivo campaign in Florida's 20th district. She is a progressive Democrat running on Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, universal child care, you name it, anything progressive, she is fighting for that movement. I also run a podcast with four other progressives called Okay Now What. We discuss daily weekly topics throughout the week, and we usually have a guest on. It's usually another progressive candidate. So if you're interested in supporting progressive candidates throughout the country and helping progressives get elected into Congress, I highly suggest you check my podcast out to learn about these amazing people running for office. Also, later in June, I will be restarting season 3 of The Greg Show, which is a show that I started back in the early days of the pandemic. And I'm really excited to start that. Season 3, wow.
I know, oh my god, I'm excited too.
So, yeah, that's just a little bit of what I do. Currently, I'm studying theater and journalism at Mount San Antonio College. God, I don't know when I'm going to get out, but I will get out soon. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Amazing. So please, guys, please go check out their work. Everything that they do is super, super informative. I am always blown away. I love your show. It's a lot of fun. They're pretty silly. So yeah, today's video, I wanted to talk about what is happening in the Middle East. I know that there is a lot of questions going on right now about what is going on, and I felt like this subject, I needed to have them here, So we're gonna do this like a Q&A kind of thing, and then we're kind of put it down into some more simpler words so it's easier for all of us to understand. So what are the two sides that are technically, in this, what is not a conflict,
yeah,
right?
so this is not a conflict. What's happening right now in Israel is apartheid. Apartheid is when you basically take entire military control in what's supposed to be an independent state, which Palestine is an independent sovereign state. But unfortunately, it is under Israeli military control, and in result of that, there have been exchanges, yes, on both sides. People want to say Israel has the right to defend themselves from rockets. Okay, but this other independent sovereign state has that same right. So this, I like I said, I don't want to call it a conflict, but this situation has been happening for over almost a century now, because it really started in the 1940s. So yeah.
So
thank you.
Of course. So earlier, while we were doing some of the research for this video, I wanted to mention that this has been going on for, well, since how long?
I want to say about 70 years. So after World War II, there was this movement called the Zionist movement. The Zionist movement believed that Jews were not just a religion, but a race and a nationality. And they believed that they will never be safe until they have a homeland. Now, most people can get on board with that, but the Zionist movement were a very far right movement and used fear in order to basically get a homeland, which would be Israel, and kick out the Palestinians there. That's what it mainly is. And once, the state of Israel was established, Israel has been stripping their land for so long. There's maps where you can see the original map of Palestine, and you can see it over the years of Palestinians losing their land. And that's, of course, going to cause conflict. That's going to cause violence because you have two countries defending themselves,
So, from my understanding, it was split into two, right? The land.
Mm-hmm.
So, how was that all about? Like, why did that happen?
So, in order to basically give a compromise to the Israel-Palestine conflict then was to split the area into two, making both of them independent, sovereign nations. Palestine was given the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, while Israel had the rest, and Jerusalem was supposed to be an international shared space amongst the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews, which is their holy land. All the Abrahamic religions use Jerusalem as their holy land. So, yeah.
So, for like a visual kind of like visualization, that would like help people like me better in case you're like wondering, just imagine a piece of land, and then the Palestinians get like the top and then a little strip right here that's called the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and right in the middle is Israel.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's so weird. I'll try to put a photo up here or like put a link in the description box so you guys could check it out. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense.
But now it's to the point where the West Bank is divided into hundreds of pieces, little sections, because over the course of the years, Israeli settlers would go in and settle into the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, mainly because of religious reasons, political reasons. They want to take over the area for the Israeli government, and because it is cheaper to live in those spaces because of the Israelis using it for cheap housing subsidies in the area. Because even though that they are a sovereign state, they occupy them militarily.
So, basically, there was Palestinian land, and the Israelis, right? Not Israelites, Israelis.
Well, Israelis, if you want to go Bible, you can just call them Israelites.
That's how I know them from. I like in my head the whole time. But when I think it was your podcast, I was like,
I made that same little
joke.
I
was like Israelis. Yeah. I was like, I've been calling them Israelites. Like, but yeah, potato. So, oh my gosh. So the Israelis, the Israelis went into Palestinian land and started settling, like just like little dots, like boop, 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 just started popping up, just because like how they said for political or religious reasons, and obviously that's gonna bother Palestinians because, like they had mentioned, there was this treaty, there was this agreement that Palestinians get this, and then Israelis are gonna get this.
So they basically made that compromise, and over
and
the
then
years,
just broke
Israel literally said, "Fuck it, no."
Fuck it.
But let's go ahead and talk about what is currently happening. So at this point, Israel has become this alt-right wing government.
What does that mean?
So alt-right, meaning extreme right. So if you go into the political spectrum, you have the leftists, which is progressives like me, and you have the extreme right, which is like Trump. But I would say Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's the Prime Minister of Israel, is a little bit worse than Trump,
Way worse.
He is, causing ethnic cleansing, displacement of people dragging people out of their homes just because they are Palestinian.
And their justification is you're Palestinian. Like,
they don't care.
Is that not enough for you?
They're breaking hundreds of human rights violations. But again, there's this the other part of the problem is that if you speak against Israel, you're anti-Semitic. And I'm sorry, but what the Israeli government is doing is no different from what German Nazis did to their ancestors back in the 1930s.
Exactly.
They literally purposely dragged Jews out of their homes and moved them into ghettos. What's happening? Palestinians are being dragged out of their homes and being displaced into other areas. But I'm anti-Semitic because I pointed out the two parallels.
For those of you guys wondering, which I was wondering, so they don't have like a president. It's not called a president. It's called a prime minister. So Netanyahu is their president. So this is the big dog, like the one calling all the shots. Mm-hmm. So 11 days, right, ago?
Yeah. So
like 12 days now. So, from my understanding, if you guys have been like on social media and been seeing like the hashtags trending of free Palestine, Palestine bleeding, Palestine under attack, etc. There's a lot of hashtags going on right now. And you're wondering what is, why, like, what is it that's going on right now? Basically, Israel fired rockets at Gaza during Ramadan. Is that
Ramadan. It's the highest holy day in the Muslim calendar.
And then basically what happened after that is that the Israelites are who did that. So they attacked the Palestinians during their most holiest time. Mm-hmm. And then the Palestinians fired back. Mm-hmm. And then the Israeli police went to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and used tear gas and rubber bullets and harmed people.
This was after a ceasefire. So after all of the 11 days of violence.
Well, I heard that was like before.
What do you mean?
Like, what started it all?
No, what started it all was attacks on mosques. The Al-Aqsa Mosque you're talking about was
after.
Mm-hmm,
but in the beginning, the Israelis had done that.
Oh yeah. In fact, a mosque was set on fire during the 11 days, and luckily it was saved with only minimal damage. But there was video of these, again, right-wing Israeli citizens, chanting and singing and basically praying. And in the translation, it was translated to "May they be forgotten" or something like that, which is terrible, because one, Muslims have been around just as long as Jews. And they come from the same Abrahamic God, so it's really sad because, again, this is mostly, I guess, connected to race because, they're a different race of people, and it's sad. It's really sad.
So basically, at the very beginning of all of this, 11 days ago, the Israelites went and attacked mosques with the S at the end.
Well, mosques, there were other protests going on because they were also dragging people out of their homes to make room for more settlement.
In retaliation, the Palestinians fired rockets. Mm-hmm. And then in retaliation is when, like, all hell broke loose. Mm-hmm. And then, by, like, everything that has been going on and been shown online, you could see the Israelite police, like, just in the open daylight throwing, like, bombs at medical aid cars at medical aid people.
During the 11 days, they also destroyed a Palestinian media building, which included the Associated Press. And it's weird because here's the Palestinians advocating amongst themselves and telling the truth. Okay, well, if you're the Israeli government and nothing to hide, then why bomb a media building?
Why do that?
And not only that, there was a Palestinian activist. He went viral during the early days of this. Again, I don't like saying conflict. This situation. And he was explaining why this is happening and what's happening and how he is a victim of it. His name is Mohammed Akkad, I believe. And he went on both CNN and MSNBC. A day later, Israeli police kicked him and his family out of his house.
I'd heard about that.
So, again, why are you afraid of the truth?
And then I would also want to highlight on what is our part, the United States of America, in all of this. What are we doing? What are we backing them up? Are we standing up for them? What is it that we're really doing?
Israel is a big investment to the United States, only because it gives us a placehold in the Middle East. We're kind of there to regulate what's going on. And also, we like to call them the only democracy in the Middle East. Well, a democracy doesn't cause ethnic cleansing and attack its own people. And no, it doesn't do that. But, U.S. propaganda. Go ahead.
It is Netanyahu who is doing these attacks.
Mm-hmm.
It is him who is ordering this
and he is basically the Israeli government. So, yeah. So, whatchamacallit? So, we donate. Like, we fund Israel about $3.8 billion a year. And that includes supporting their military and funds all the rest of the government. Which, by the way, Israel has universal health care. We don't. We're funding their health care.
We're funding their health care.
But anyway, let's go ahead and move on because that's a whole other subject. So yeah, we Israel is a financial investment. And of course we don't want to do that. So back in 2019, the creation of the BDS movement was created. It was it was established back in 2019, which basically calls for the boycotting of Israeli products, the deinvestment of Israeli funds, and sanctions. And in 2019, the House of Representatives created a House Resolution 246, which called in opposition of the BDS movement. Only 14 Democrats voted against it. Only 14 people voted against that. And they were all basically progressive Democrats. So AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar were, of course, the ones that did that, voted against that bill. But, resolution. So what's happening now is that since, we have such a part in what's happening in the situation, there's a lot of anti-BDS legislation going around. They're out in different states. So yeah.
So that basically means that we have these states that are telling people, hey, you better not be saying fuck Israel. Don't do that now. Watch yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's...
Or you're anti-Semitic.
Or that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, this is a very sensitive subject, but it's like a no-brainer, I would think, at least.
Mm-hmm.
For, like, who's in the wrong in all of this. a lot of people, like how we had seen a video earlier, like they like to say like, oh well, they like to go by an event and then go by that. So they'll go by one that when the Palestinians attacked, and they'll be like, oh well, look, the Palestinians are attacking, like we have to do this. But we have to go back.
What's
we have
happening
to go
here
to the
is
beginning.
a 20-year-old is beating up a 3-year-old.
So we, the United States, are giving them money, and they have bombs, they have tanks, they have all this crazy shit.
And what does Hamas have? They have military grade weapons, but that's all they have. And by military grade, I mean like AR-15s. That's all they have against bombs. Oh, the occasional, what is it? The liquor? What are those things called?
Muscle top.
Muscle tops? Honey, come on. Honey. So, there are ways that you can help out. You mentioned an Instagram post.
Oh, yeah. So, I will be adding some accounts to the description box that you guys could give a follow. There's, I will warn, I'll put a warning next to it. There's one account that posts, graphic videos, and it's all like, you know, news publications, and it just is really shedding a huge light on what is really going on there. Like, it is disgusting, it is unsettling, it is heartbreaking, it is not okay. This is
apartheid.
People should be outraged right now. There is hundreds of people being killed right now, and people are turning a blind eye. We have the U.S. government. I saw this the other day. I was at the gym, and there was fucking like a pro like Israel like empathy thing. Like, you know, like, no, yes, their lives do matter, you know? But, you know, it was just like saying like, oh, you know, like Israel. But there was no talk about Palestine. There was no talk about Palestine. And I was just there mad as fuck. Because that's exactly what is going on. And that is why no one is talking about it. So if you take anything out of this, please, whatever it is, talk about it. Share this. Just talk about it.
And
be mad.
Be mad, because literally, this
could happen to anyone. Literally, like anyone. They were living in their homes, just casual, whatever day.
Well, this is what happened in South Africa. That you know, which led to the you know, Nelson Mandela, you know, being elected. But yeah, the apartheid is not new. It happened in South Africa, and even Nelson Mandela.
What is apartheid?
Apartheid again is when another government is occupying your free state and is displacing you. It's like basically ethnic cleansing. Whereas, you know, you had the South African government doing that. It was pretty bad, and it didn't end until like the late 90s. But even Nelson Mandela said, you know, we are not free until Palestine is free, because they gotta recognize this. And we need to keep remembering that this is happening, because hell, I didn't even know Palestine even existed until 2016. I didn't know all this thing was happening until 2016. So there you have it. Go ahead and.
I also wanted to talk about their open air prison.
Oh yeah.
I think people should really understand what it is that is going on out there, like the state of living.
Yeah. So in Gaza, which is part of the Palestinian land, it's an extremely dense it's an densely populated area. Literally the most amount of people in the world are living in that piece of land. It's incredibly dense. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's extremely dense, making it difficult to live. And also, since the violence has been happening, you have Israeli police doing checkpoints. It's even hard to move around. So, and you can't leave also. You cannot leave. So, it's considered an open air prison. You can't move around and you can't leave.
You're stuck in one place. One place. Hamas. There is a lot of talk in our media outlets that call Hamas a terrorist organization. Hamas is who is protecting the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
Who it's their voice, it's their anger, it's their hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's imagine like there's just no judgment. There's nothing that can be said. They have been like massacred and pushed to such a huge disgusting place, and they're just, this is so hurtful.
It is.
So I wanted to add a couple things that we could do. We can donate to the Institute for Middle East Understanding. It is a nonprofit organization that offers journalists facts, analysis, experts, and digital resources about what is going on in Palestine and about Palestinians, so people like me and you can know about what is going on out there. So we can also donate for medical aid for Palestinians, which works for the health and dignity of Palestinians living under occupation and refugees. In other words, they provide immediate medical aid to those who need it. We can also support bills like HR 2590, or you could talk about that one and the other one.
So AOC, it's along with the same resolution. AOC has introduced a bill that would pause the current approval of spending. So we right now Biden approved I believe it's $750 million in weapons funds, and AOC, along with this resolution, introduced a bill that would stop that, as well as stopping taxpayer funds going into support of Israel. Because, we are literally funding this, and we are complicit.
Exactly. So that concludes this video. I would like to take a second to acknowledge the 200 Palestinians that passed away in this bloody 11 days. There's no words to even...
It's sickening.
No words. And 58 of these 200 were children. May they all rest in love and in peace, and they will never be forgotten. And we are not free until Palestine is free, and we will keep fighting and advocating and talking about this. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much, Gregory,
for having me.
Being here. I had such a great time. We would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. And please go check out their podcast and their Instagram, all of that good stuff. I'll have that down below.
Yes,
thank you guys.
Because one day I will be running for Congress.
Period. Congress. You heard it here, honey. Bye, everyone.